And we are recording with Mr. Gabe Eltaeb. Still can't believe I guessed that correctly. Tuesday, September 30th, 2025 at 10:04 a.m. Eastern Time. Real quick, introduce yourself and then let's continue on that improv thought.
Yeah, so my name is Gabriel Eltaeb, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm in sunny San Diego, and are over there in what, Maine or Maryland?
Portland,
One.
Maine.
Okay, so you are in a different universe than me. I've
Yeah.
been to the East Coast once. I went to Washington, D.C. 41 years ago when I was 7 years old. It
Oh
was the only
God.
time I've been to the East Coast. Never been to New York, Boston, nothing. No, 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 no. I went to Disney World 4 years ago. So I don't know anything about the East Coast, not as far as being there. Don't know.
I've been to the West Coast one time,
Really?
2013. I know the date, November 1st, 2013. I was interviewing at the University, the USC Keck School of Medicine in LA.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember two things. Number one, when I got off the plane there, it was so beautiful. I immediately knew there's no way in the world I was going to be accepted because it was too good.
Right.
I just went, it was, the sun was setting, it's those pastel skies. And I was like,
Right.
oh, this is too good. I'm not going to get this. And
Well,
then the next
if you,
day, I remember because that's the day somebody walked into LAX with an AR-15 and opened
mm,
fire, and it shut down like global air traffic. So I guess I don't know, the West Coast had like an immune reaction to me being there.
oh, okay. Okay, well, that's all right. If you liked Los Angeles, you would have loved San Diego. San
I
Diego
know. Oh,
is
I know.
it's the pretty sister. LA's the ugly sister.
Oh, I know.
San
My
Diego,
uncle.
our city slogan is actually America's finest city. It's 68 to 72 degrees year
I
round,
know.
blue
I
skies. It's
My uncle is a doctor and he lived in San Diego for like 30 years. And that's, I mean, and that's the one I got rejected. I didn't even get like a secondary application. I applied to University, San Diego. I think it's just literally
USD.
UCSD. Yeah, I
Okay,
applied
that's a
there.
very hard private school, very hard to get into.
I know, and I wanted to go there so badly just for San Diego. But yeah, no,
Uh,
in terms of just so let's just tie it in terms of improv and into comics and what you do. I just did a show for an hour with a physician talking about how certain forms of what we're seeing as the woke do need to be classified as mental illness and
yeah,
not in some LOL they're mentally ill, but rather like, hey man, these are leading to suicides and they're leading to
yeah,
shootings and
right.
I don't think they're totally unassociated about kind of what you're doing with your comics and that because a lot of this stuff is we don't think of again I grew up in the 90s. I don't really think about it, but a lot of these things are sort of the your parents and school is kind of the big one, but comics and the the kind of the fictional culture you're exposed to, a lot of that is the I don't know, the filler, the tendons between
Um,
how you're raised.
Right. Well, here's what I think about all of it. And I'm 48 years old. I've been making art and entertainment my whole life. I've been a professional for 25, 26 years. And Carl Jung, the great psychologist from over 100 years ago, he said, until the subconscious is made conscious, it will control people's lives and they will call it fate. And I know in the West, I'm a Christian, but I know
Whoa.
in the Western world, entertainment is the religion of the West. It's the most important thing people spend the most time on. Television, streaming, movies, celebrity gossip, sports, entertainment fills people's lives. And I don't think that's a great thing. I think there's a place for entertainment. I am an entertainer. I don't think it should be the meat on the plate. I think it should be a side, but it isn't. So knowing that, you have to participate in the culture war. And it is a culture war every single day. I was an employee of Warner Brothers. I worked in their studio for 3 years. And then I freelanced for them for well over a decade. I worked for Disney. If you've heard of it, I've worked on it. Star Wars, Ghostbusters, Superman, Batman, Black Panther. If you've heard of a pop culture character, except for Ninja Turtles, I'm very upset about this because that was like my favorite thing when I was 12 in 1990. And I never professionally worked on Ninja Turtles, but I worked on everything else. But anyway, the Bible says faith without works is dead, meaning the way you act is because of what you subconsciously believe, the premises you have about life. Art, movies, comic books, video games, they are persuasion. This is all scientific fact. You can look this up. It's subconscious persuasion. You don't know the difference between a movie and real life. That's why you jump when there's a monster in a movie. There's no monster. It's your TV screen. Your amygdala, your subconscious doesn't know that. So when I'm a good actor, a good singer, a good writer, a good comic book writer and illustrator, your brain doesn't know my story isn't real. And if I am good at making stories, I convince you this is reality, and then faith without works is dead. You believe my reality and you act on it. That's why evil messages in media are so devastating to people's lives, because they will see Deadpool be the hero, but be a degenerate and take cocaine and
Hmm.
be a horrible, selfish person. And then they'll go, I should do that. Whereas if you see Indiana Jones step into the bottomless pit and take faith in God to be a hero, then you think, I should do that. That's how
Hmm.
life is. So that's my whole reasoning for why I left Warner Brothers and Disney and all of that, because the stories quit being normal heroic fare and it started being woke left-wing propaganda. And to go all the way back to what you were saying about mental illness, as a Christian, they ask God, what's the most important commandment? Jesus, to love God with all your heart. The second is to love thy neighbor as thyself. So if I use my world-class artistic skill as a writer and illustrator to make bad messages, hey Tommy, you're gay, so you can't make it. The man's gonna get you. You're black, you can't make it. You're a woman, you can't make it. If I'm good at storytelling, you'll believe me. And then your life, you'll be finding yourself with purple dyed hair protesting in the street because the man is going to get you. That's what Gabe told me with his amazing story. That's what he told me. So when DC Comics and Disney and all that want me to make hateful, woke stories that marginalize people instead of telling them, no, you can be brave like Indiana Jones. You can be brave like Luke Skywalker, the old way, the old, not the new
Sure.
woke stuff. It's evil, it's hateful. If I make a story like that, then that is hatred to you as my fellow man. And the commandment to me is to love my neighbors myself. I wouldn't want you, Tommy, to convince me I couldn't win at life because the man was going to get me. You know what I mean? So that is my whole thing about making good art and entertainment. Number one, it's to entertain. It's an entertainment product. I want people to have fun, have a good time. But number two, it is going to have a psychological effect that cannot be avoided. All stories will have an effect on your perception of reality. So you must control that. You can't just let it go like a fire hose that nobody's holding and not be careful. And believe me, they're very precise. Having worked for the major companies, they know what they're doing with the woke storytelling. They know it's indoctrination. They know it's brainwashing. Why do you think they're always going after kids?
Hmm.
Why do you think they're always going, oh, we'll slip this into Arthur the Aardvark? Well, I just saw one. I don't know the name of it. I think Elon retweeted this morning. My wife was showing it to me yesterday. It was trending on Twitter. It was some brand new cartoon on Netflix where the kid is all gender identity, and I don't know this, and I can be comfortable with these pronouns. Of course, the kid is fat and ugly and has blue hair because, of course. So people are either starting off mentally ill and finding this stuff, or they're watching it and just repeating it in their mind for decades and becoming more mentally ill because of it. I'll let you go since it's your show, but that's my big
No,
take.
no, dude, I never shut up. It honestly, I enjoyed so much when the guest is talking because you can find it on every episode the comments. Tommy, shut up. Let the guest talk. So no, I do appreciate that. But yeah, no, you have to meet them on the battlefield. They're meeting, and
Right,
I'm a Christian, but you have to understand. And I was also an atheist for a long time, so I also get where you consciously or unconsciously you do start to place values on hierarchies and
right.
synthetic divinities, and this is the
Oh
and
yeah.
it does. I remember years ago, I was like babysitting my late grandmother in like probably 2015, 2016. And she was watching, I don't know, some rerun of like the Andy Griffith show or something. And in my mind, I was just like, "Ugh, I can't, I just don't, this is awful." But at the end of it, it was, I don't know, like the kid broke a window or something.
Uh-huh.
And the dad is making him tell the truth to the police officer. And the police officer, something along the lines of like, well, you're gonna have to work this summer pay us back for the window. But I think the important thing is you told the truth and you acted like a man. And he's like, and that's
Yeah.
very important. And the dad's like, you are grounded, but I'm very proud of you, son. And like, as it was rolling, I was like, if a show ended like that today, it
Oh,
would be viral, it'd be like family values, and then or the flip side would be like pure demonic white supremacy. But I just remember looking
yeah.
at that and I was like, how sad is it that something that genuine struck me as like, what in the world is this? It's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be pure evil and destroy the West.
All
And
right.
like that little thing was so exotic to me, and it shouldn't be.
So, yeah, and I was raised with those 1950s values. I was born
Yeah.
in 1978. But my grandparents and my mom, we didn't have TV growing up. We weren't allowed to have it. It wasn't a money issue. It was like, no, that's devil stuff. That's trash. We didn't go to the movies. We didn't, we were, I never had like music. We could have Christian music. I had about 10 VHS cassettes, the original three Star Wars, two Indiana Jones. We couldn't have Temple of Doom because all that evil like magic the guy was doing in the second one. I hate the second Indiana Jones, by the way. The first and the third are amazing. The second one's a piece of junk. And we had like the Blues Brothers and like three other, like a couple Christian movies, like the Ten Commandments or something like that.
Sure.
So that stuff that's marinating your brain, that's telling your brain, this is true, this is true, this is true. That's what you're getting when you're watching TV and movies. It cannot be avoided. It isn't just a show. It isn't just, oh, it's just throwaway entertainment. No, it's not. Your subconscious cannot tell the truth. And the better the writing, the better the acting, the better the drawings in a comic book, the better the music and the melody and the rhythm, the more true it is in your mind. I made a joke with my wife years ago that stupid people think if something rhymes, it's true. Happy wife, happy life. If the
Yeah,
glove doesn't
they
fit,
did.
you
Yeah.
must acquit. And here's the thing about that. You have dopamine reinforcement pathways in your brain, right? And when you see a pattern and you recognize it successfully, dopamine, you get pleasure. That's why good art makes you feel good. Well, that's dopamine reinforcement. Your brain says more of this, more of this. So again, if I'm a great artist, but I'm making an evil message, you're still going to get dopamine. And you're
Mm.
still going to go, this is, and the whole reason pattern recognition gives you that dopamine is survival.
Hmm.
If I recognize the pattern of a tiger's body on the savannah, I survive. So
Hmm.
I am wired to get dopamine from patterns. So people that think they're just singing along to some song or whatever, when you think about how do you say singing in Espanol? You say cantar, right? In French, it's chant.
Incantation.
Right. It's chanting. How do you say encanto, right? That's it, chant. That
Ancient.
so you start to think about what music is. It's like a spell,
Uh,
right? Like think of the jazziest, most catchy earworm of a song, and it can have the most vile,
yeah.
disgusting message. I thank God my mom was so strict about that stuff. Because nowadays I listen to the Beach Boys. I listen to Petra, that's a Christian band from the 80s and 90s. I'll listen to like Phil Collins. I'll only listen to super clean music because I know if I'm listening to filth that has negative lyrics and it's telling me something bad about me or my life, I know you listen to that 10, 15, 100 times, it's getting in there. It's going to wire itself into your brain. You should not listen to that. So yeah, art, you have to guard your heart, you have to guard your mind. This stuff will get in there. And I liken it to this. You say, "Oh, well, Tommy, Gabe, you guys are stupid because I can listen to this evil music because I know it's bad music, so I just won't accept it." That's like saying this mug is filled with vodka, but since I know it's vodka, it can't make me
I'm
drunk.
all good.
Like drink a whole gallon of it, but I knew it was booze. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. You
Yeah.
can know that it's evil persuasion and it still works on you because it's not talking to the forebrain. It's talking to the subconscious. That's what it's really talking to.
Yeah, yeah. I worked as a bouncer for years, and you would have, most people don't know how drunk they are, and then every once in a while you'd have the dude that was like, I know, I'm holding my own, I've had a couple, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but you don't know. You're not at all because you are telling me things you'd never say. You're being angrier than you'd ever be. Like
Right.
you know more, I guess, relatively than the person that, but no, you don't. And yeah, I mean, I always think of the book I had to read in college for I don't know, some bullshit class, but Fast Food Nation, and it's all about how whatever McDonald's is evil and whatever. But at it, I just remember thinking because the entire thing is about the guy that owned the most land in the U.S. I think his name is J.R. Simplot, and they're talking about it's they get down to hundredths of a penny per potato because that's where the profit margin is made in these hyper
Wow.
huge corporations. It's that's how competitive it is. It's like professional sports. It's a game of
Right.
inches, and just going through all the different way, supply lines and gas and food and fresh to table and okay, even the angle of the chairs in McDonald's are tilted slightly forward because it will make you leave when you're finished eating if you're not preoccupied. Crazy
Wow.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's actually a great book. Um,
Fast
and
Food Nation.
Fast Food Nation,
Okay, I gotta
Eric
get that.
Schlosser, I think.
I'll let you go, but I sense that you're an autodidact like myself,
Yeah,
right? You're
what does
you're a
that mean?
self, you teach yourself
Oh yeah, no,
everything.
I try to read a book a week. Yeah, no,
Okay,
it's
okay.
yeah, it's I have to. I'll go crazy
We
if I
could
do.
we could smell our own. All I do
Yeah,
is learn. If you looked
Yeah.
at my YouTube history, it was how does a rear differential work? How do radio transceivers work? How
Oh
do you
yeah.
cook this? Everything is like my dad's just like that. It's
I,
study. I love to learn. Like for anything, I'll
I
learn
know, and
anything.
I always bring it up on the podcast. People always like, "How did you learn that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I wanted to."
People always ask me, like, how do you know that? I'm like, how do you not know that?
I talk about that. I always talk about like weird Cold War projects and shit, and
Right.
like,
How do,
how the fuck don't you have a biology degree? I'm like, yeah, but yeah, but in it, so they're going to basically they're saying like no Spence is expired. You cut the corner on everything, or every Spence is expired. Most profitable in that whole paradigm of extreme efficiency. They were dumping something like, and the book was written, I think, in 2010. They were dumping, I think McDonald's was dumping like 40 to 50 million a year into hiring a fleet of psychiatrists to understand and I guess decode the meaning of children's dreams. And they had different sections, like 1 to 3, 3 to 8, because they wanted to know how they had to design, like specifically the Happy Meal toy, just to get like a 2% edge up on Burger King. So there's a company that's throwing all of that money, and they don't mess around. Every penny is towards something, and they opened the purse strings and threw like 100 million at decoding kids' dreams so the toy was slightly more appealing.
wow.
That's
Now,
where I
you
look at
said,
subconscious matters. I'm like, yeah,
right.
they don't mess around. It's one thing if my little shitty cafe does that. When McDonald's does it,
That's
dude,
crazy.
yeah.
You said a fleet of psychiatrists. That reminded me of like a murder of crows or a flock of seagulls.
I couldn't think of
I
what word to
think
say.
I think it would be a confusion of psychologists. I think
Okay.
that would be the word.
Oh, that's a beautiful one. Yeah, I didn't know what else I was good. I didn't want to say team because that implies like medical care. They're
No,
just
no, we
deducing
can just call them a confusion.
a
That's when you got
confusion.
three or more.
I think you coined that. But
Yeah,
that's where I look at it. And
right.
it's so in your face. And even like recently is I love I'm dead sober, but my guilty pleasure is video games at night. I love video games. And I tried to play through Far Cry 6 and I finally uninstalled it like 2 weeks ago. And I love the
Mhm.
Far Cry series. It's about Cuba and you're a revolutionary and whatever. It's something to do. But all the little, and I'm 35, and I had to stop playing because, one guy's like, I don't even want to fight in the revolution. He's like, I just want to take a boat and go to Miami and get out of here. And immediately all of like the NPC characters are like, they don't want you in America. That's a white man. And the game's like 3 years
Right.
old. They're like,
Oh,
that's a white man's country. You're going to be just like driving valet cars, like never
right.
leave here. America has, and I was like, what the fuck? Like it is just in your face. And I'm 35, and and I think how many things flew right over my head
Right.
when
Well,
I was a
let's look at
kid.
this one. Let's look at this one. Communists, that would be left or right wing. That's left wing, right? Now, we have a lot of amazing movies that rightly vilify the Nazis. Nazis are trash. That was terrible. A Band of
Sure.
Brothers, Indiana Jones, I was beating the shit out of Nazis, and that's a good thing. Where are the
Never,
movies with the equivalent for the communist villains?
never. If you look at
Right.
total
So
death
this is
toll,
the thing.
communism
You,
outdoes Nazism like 10 to 1 death toll.
well, as far as death totals, they stacked a lot more bodies. But where are the movies? So then they will convince my subconscious how bad a communist is, and then we go out and a politician calls someone a
You have
communist.
like
You
Red
see where
Dawn.
this goes? Because
Yeah.
what they say, always punch a Nazi, and they'll show a picture of Indiana Jones punching a Nazi,
Violence is good.
And then Tommy, you're a Nazi. So then I get to
Yeah.
punch you because
Yeah.
Indiana Jones said so. That's exactly what I was telling you about how stories work. Now, of course, I think Nazis shouldn't be doing anything. They're evil, awful people. They did awful, but the communists, they were murderous bastards too. That's just a fact. Pol
You can
Pot,
hold both ideas
Mao
in your head.
Tse-tung, you can
Yeah.
believe both things.
You can
See,
go, they
that's
both suck. Hitler killed
right.
6, they killed 100. They're both
Right.
bad.
That's the room temperature IQ take is, well, if you say communists are bad, then you're saying Nazis aren't. Like, no one is saying that, you
Yeah.
bastard. No, don't
Yeah.
even try that with me. I'm saying, where is the programming, the propaganda The persuasion of all the movies with the communist dictators, because you could make some heroic stories of people overcoming. Think about how bad communism is with the gulags and the secret police, what the NKV did,
Yeah,
what the
there's
KGB did, what these people did in Eastern Germany, in Cambodia, in Vietnam, in China, in Russia. You could tell so many horror. Have you ever read Alexander Solzhenitsyn's book, The Gulag Archipelago?
Archipelago. No, but I need to. It's
I
on.
got through half of it. It's like not. It's a nightmare. I didn't want to read it anymore because it was just cartoonishly evil what the communists would do to the citizens, killing babies. Everybody, husbands are reporting wives, go to prison for 5 years because you mentioned God to your kids. You can make amazing fictionalized stuff just like Indiana Jones with the communists and the bad guys, but they don't do it. And why don't they do it? Because communism is left-wing coded. And a
Yeah,
lot of communists, McCarthy was right. I'm not saying that
I
to be
literally
kidding.
just said that in the last episode.
I work in entertainment. He was right. The
Yeah,
communists, if you read their literature, they have a concept called the long march through the
the long
institution.
march to the institution.
And they understand get into the college, get into the church, get into entertainment, get into academia, and get into government where you can. And we don't need a lot of communists. We just need enough to control the levers of power. And when I am a communist, I work at Warner Brothers and I can decide who's going to write and draw a comic book. I can hire and fire, and I can hire my friends, my DEI woke friends. I don't need to outnumber the non-woke people. And that was my experience there. Most people in the halls of Warner Brothers were normal people who were terrified of the woke people because the woke people were psychotically ruthless and would do anything to anyone to ruin their life and their career. So everyone just walked around with their head down. But what you have to understand is we outnumber them 10 to 1, 100 to 1, whatever. Stop being afraid. I told my colleagues that when I left DC Comics, it went viral, global. That's how our mutual friend Emily heard of me. She saw me on the news. I humiliated Warner Brothers just talking about this new stupid woke Superman where they got rid of his slogan, Truth, Justice, and the American Way. It's truth, justice, and a better world. Some new age left wing bullshit. And then a major plot line they wanted me to do with my art was let's explore the sex life of the Superman's underage bisexual son. I'm like, how
go to
about you
hell.
guys do that without me? Because
I
I don't
mean,
make sex comic books, gay, straight, bi, trans, whatever. I don't make sex comic books. That's not what I do. So why
especially
don't you,
underage.
yeah, oh my God, right? So like, get the hell away from me. I'm not doing this with you clowns. So that's why I quit working there. And it was heartbreaking because I wanted to work there since I was a little boy. There are less people making money doing comics than there are in the NFL. I don't
Hmm.
say that to brag. I say that to point out to you and your readers what I gave up. It was so hard to become a comic book artist, and not just one at the highest levels. They don't put you on Superman and Star Wars and Batman if you're a slug. I was one of their absolute best guys, and they're like, "Hey, why don't we make some woke filth?" And all I could think of is my mom and dad and grandparents and the way they raised me. Well, I didn't watch woke filth. I'm like, oh, so I'm going to make that, and then I'm going to make a book where a little kid is going to wonder about their gender identity because of me. No, no, no. Go fuck yourself. I'm not doing that.
And
There was a book I did where a bunch of little kids were in a cancer ward and they're pretty much all going to die. And Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Batman, and all, they all came to the cancer hospital and they played hide and seek with the kids. They did this with the kids. The Green Lantern made a spaceship with his green ring and they went to the moon. Superman carved their names into rocks on the moon. They just gave these kids the greatest day of their life because the postscript is they're probably all going to die. People still bring me that book at conventions crying that they read this to their daughter when she was in the cancer ward and this and that. And she's okay now. She's been in remission for 5 years. And that's why you're supposed to make art, dude.
mm,
That's why. It was a one off. It was a Superman book I did about 10 years ago. They still reprint it to this day. And there's a company that reprints it with a license from DC Comics and gives it to like children's hospitals and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff I was in for making for them. That and regular adventure stuff. Not this, hey kids, you ever wonder if you're the correct identity? Like, no, God made you perfect. You're a boy. You are, and there's nothing wrong with you the way you are. And so I'm not making that stuff to confuse people, to tell black people and gay people and everyone, you can't do it. You can't do it. If I told you, Tommy, you can't win at me with Monopoly because I always get to steal money and no one punishes me, you wouldn't play then.
no.
So I'm half Mexican. My dad is Libyan, so I'm Arab Mexican. But I wasn't raised with that victim mentality, thank God, because my family wasn't brainwashed by the media. And I remember being about 6 years old, and my grandparents, I was at their house all the time. My grandpa, World War II veteran, great, married to my grandma for 50 something years. They were great Christian people, hardworking, owned their own business, a Mexican restaurant and tortilla factory. So they were, all American people. They were not La Raza, this is conquered land, get off my land. They were very much American. And the other Mexicans in the town they lived in hated them for that. There was like, oh, you're white now? You're white, you're better than us. And it's like, oh my God, this is so stupid. But I remember asking my grandpa when I was about six, what was racism? Because the TV was on. It was like 60 Minutes or some show back in the 80s. And they were talking about white people and this and that, and trying to sow those seeds of victim mentality. And I asked my grandpa, what does this mean? And this and that. And white people don't like us? And he said, no. He said, there are bad white people, but he said, there are bad people of every color. But then he turned and said this to me. He called me Gabe. He said, Gabe, we wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for the good white people. When my grandpa got out of World War II, he went back to Colorado. He was at Fort Bliss in Texas. He went back to Colorado. He was a cowboy on a ranch for a while, and he worked for this lady, Mrs. Davis, white lady. And she was real nice to him. And there was some racism against some Mexican people back then. This is the 40s and the 50s. And he couldn't get a loan at a bank. And my grandma's brothers had failed at a Mexican restaurant, but he wanted a loan to get the building and to buy their equipment and all that. And he couldn't do it. Miss Davis went down to the bank and they said, you give that my grandfather, you give Tim Duran anything he wants. I'm co-signing for it. Because he was very good on her ranch as a cowboy and a field hand and all that. And he was able to get the loan. And then he was the most successful, like, tortilla guy from Colorado to the West Coast. We have a branch of grocery stores out here called Vaughn's Safeway. That's the company. And he had all his tortillas in their stores from the 60s until like the early 80s. He was like the big guy for that stuff in the Mexican food aisle. And it made our family, successful in that way. My mom, aunt, and uncle all went to college. My grandpa bought a few houses and this and that. And but it was a white lady that went down to the bank and said, no, lend him the money back when they wouldn't lend it to him for being a poor Mexican. So I was disabused of any notions of racism and victim and that. I was talking to I have my friend Doug Tenape, who's an amazing comic book artist, video game guy, TV guy. He created Earthworm Jim. He was the
Yeah, I
director for
remember that.
VeggieTales. Doug is amazing. He's got a great YouTube channel. But I was joking with him about white privilege because I don't think any of that exists. I think people are individuals. And he said, well, one privilege I have is I don't think about my race day and night. I'm not in that prison. And I told him, neither am I, even though I'm not white. I mean, technically, I guess Mexicans have Spanish blood and Spanish people are white, but whatever. I don't think about being Arab or Mexican ever. It doesn't almost ever come up in my mind. I
Yeah,
think
that's a
about being
you
an
problem.
American. I'm an American, a father, a Christian. That's what I think about all day. I don't, oh man, Reconquista, the conquered land of California. Oh, shut up. Shut up. Enough.
And we're gonna keep going. I'll boot my next meeting. But like in terms of what you're
Oh,
saying, in terms of what you were, I just realized it was 30 minutes, but yeah, we'll keep going.
I
Uh,
didn't even see the time. Oh, yeah.
yeah, no, but in terms of like, making, less people than the NFL, like I got into medical school out of college, and I know I can now say for a fact it is harder to turn a podcast into a way to pay your rent than it is to become a doctor, and I can say that factually.
Oh, that's for sure. I
I
know that.
so in terms of like, no, I get what you gave up, because that's what. And I mean, like 4 days ago I was allowed back on YouTube, but my channel got permanently banned in August 2021 because I was interviewing Dr. McCullough and Dr. Malone talking about the vaccine. And yeah,
Well,
no,
hold on. Don't mean to correct you. Talking about the experimental mRNA.
yes, well, Dr. Malone holds the patents for it, so he would get whatever patent.
Yeah, but he doesn't know anything. He's a quack. Even
Yeah,
though he's the guy with the patent, he's a quack.
yeah. Well, that's right. That's the line of thought. And
Yeah.
yeah, but in terms of like dishing out this, and I think that's a huge part because I'm a white Roman Catholic Irish American, whatever you want, nuclear parents. And I have people, the flip side is I have people all the time being like, you shouldn't be like, everything, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, it's all catered towards like people of color or bisexual. Like, you're never gonna get anywhere being like a white guy in front of an American flag. And I don't care. I don't even let that in my
Good.
mind, because I hate that mindset of weakness. Like, shut up and work harder. Just shut up and
Right.
so the flip side is like, I get that. like, oh, you really should have on more people of I'm like, dude, I'm gonna do interviews with people I want to do interviews with,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
gonna feel bad for myself, even if the on some statistical level it is accurate. That does me what good does that do me?
No,
What
you
good
need to
does
be
that do me?
authentic. Authentic. Just interview who interests you, and that's it. And who cares what color they are? Nobody cares.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
no
to
one intelligent cares. Dumb people care about that.
well, and regardless, even if I did care, how does that make my show succeed?
Right. Right. Yeah, you
Where
didn't have
did
me on because you found out whatever. You didn't even know until I just
no?
told you. What would you
Yeah,
know? You're like, well, he's brown,
yeah. Fuck do
some
I know?
race.
Fuck do I know? And dude, and I don't even. Most of this is like I interact with people mostly over email. I don't look them up
Right.
beforehand.
I thought you were old when I came on here and I'm older than you. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
like
I
I
don't.
didn't know.
Dude, I have no idea. I don't. I'm sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a female versus a male. That's
Right.
about as much of like a
Right.
delineation I have going into shows. But in terms of so you can see the importance in this stuff when especially when it's preyed upon children. And
Uh-huh.
that's a huge part. It's what the pure evil thing is the sexuality, but even less evil than just the pedophilia aspect of it is you're setting people up for learned helplessness. Hey, you're
Oh
never
yeah.
gonna do this because the white man dominates it, and so hey,
Right.
don't even try, bud. Don't even instead of like why not have some awesome story? Be like, yeah, I got into that racist med school as a black person. Like, why would you not want to have that instead? Be like, yeah, fuck those people. I'll dominate. Instead, there's this, well, don't even try that because it's all the white man's gonna ruin it for you. What that really
Right.
is doing is saying you're nothing. The brain between your ears is capable of nothing. The
Right.
only thing that matters is the shell that you were involuntarily put into. That's a what a
Yeah.
horrific thing.
Yeah, it's
That's
pure
evil.
evil. It's pure evil, but I think all of that comes from everything stems from a lack of father. Every problem in our culture can be, in physics, they want to talk about unified field theory, right? They want to have that algorithm of gravity, time,
Theory of everything,
strong,
yeah.
weak, nuclear force. They want to explain it all in one algorithm. I explain every problem with my unified father theory. Everything that's wrong with people is because they don't have a dad. There's scientific research, and you see it every day in your life. Anecdotally, we all do. Mothers and fathers, believe it or not, woke people have different roles. And as soon as you say that, left wing people get angry. Are you saying men are better than women? Nope, I'm saying they're different. They're better at some things, women are better at other things. Sorry, that's how it is. Grow up, cry about it. One thing women cannot do for girls or boys is give them self image, self respect, resilience. That's not what mothers can do. And it isn't a flaw of mothers, it's not what they're for. Just like fathers can't breastfeed, that's not a
Mhm.
flaw of men. We're not designed for it. So, mother gives you safety and security, father gives you resilience. Father's like, okay, when the baby falls off the little, like something in the house, like a little toy bike, they fall, the baby starts crying. What's mama do? Oh, baby, baby, baby. What's father do? He goes, you're
Get up.
okay. You're okay. You're okay. And the baby's like, okay, okay. And if you don't have that, the father gives you the ability to be externally validated when you're little, and then you
Hmm.
don't need it the rest of your life. You are
Hmm.
then internally validated. And
Hmm.
the problem with so many leftists is they need external validation. They're validation seeking. Hence the virtue signal. Hence well, can't you just have empathy for unlimited immigrants? Can't you just have empathy for these weirdos that want to read to kids at the library? And it's like, that's not empathy, by the way. That's you doing something so you could proudly tell everyone, hey, I'm the nicest person here. I let in the entire third world. Thank you very much. I will accept my award later this afternoon. You're doing it only for selfishness, to be worshiped because your dad was weak or not there when you were little. And he didn't give you that, hey, I'm proud of you, son. Because
Hmm.
when you get that from dad, and you mess up when you're little, Tommy, and they say, your dad's like, Tommy, we're better than that. We're
Hmm.
better than that. And and then you do it, and you go, oh my God, we are better than that. And your dad is the one that pushes you out there to do the dangerous thing, the hard thing, the thing that requires resilience. And when you do it enough, I said earlier, faith without works is dead. Aristotle or another philosopher, I don't know who, because I looked it up and there's like conflicting. Character is built through habit. Your mindset, your character comes from what you do. So when I do something enough, I believe it's true and I'll believe it's true about me. So if I want to believe things about me, I have to do them before I believe them. I have to do the hard, scary thing when it's scary. There was a line in the book Game of Thrones. That guy's trash, by the way. Those books they're so well written, but they're so filthy with all the superfluous sex.
I've
Gosh dang
never
it.
never read
But
them.
anyway, I like all the sword and sorcery and dragons, but all the sex stuff, like, come on. But there was a scene in there. There was a big attack coming. The little boy says to his father, "Aren't you scared?" And the father says, "You can only be brave when you're scared."
Hmm.
And that's how it is with your father. You have to have a father. And when you don't have one, you see the chaos we have. Look at the micro level. The most unsuccessful, dangerous places in America for young men and women are the ghettos, right? The black
Hmm.
ghetto, the Mexican barrio. And what do they have? And the white trailer park. What do all three of those things have in
Hmm.
common?
No
They
dad.
don't have fathers. And then the people who are successful, middle class, upper class, rich, parents are married. I did a research paper when I was in college. One of the classes you had to take was called college research paper, and you had to pick a topic and do a 6 month study and do a paper on it. And mine was children of divorce. And I looked up all the statistics and this, that, and the other. And one of the biggest things that makes me furious that I knew inherently, and then all my data and my research confirmed, that is one of the biggest lies society has. You'll hear people say it's better for the parents to get divorced than the kids to watch their parents fighting day and night. That is 100% false and a lie. It is 100 times better for the parents to scream at each other and hate each other and stay married than for the parents to get divorced. That when parents divorce, it's selfishness. And I don't care who hears me say that and gets mad at me. Go fuck yourself. You're ruining kids' lives. Divorce is like, should be so rare. It should be so rare. And it's, as the French say, de rigueur. It's the norm now. It's come, and people don't even get married now. You know what I mean? And they're ruining children's lives by ruining their mindset, their emotional stability, their psychology, all of that. Because more of my research, neglect. Do you know that neglect is the worst form of abuse a child can suffer? Because screaming at kids and hitting kids, while monstrous and awful, at least you matter. You're getting passion out of your parent who's mean
Yeah.
to you. When you are neglected, what it does psychologically, all the research shows is you don't matter. You don't exist. You're not even worth hating, let alone loving. So when you're fully neglected by your father who lives in Florida and you live in Nevada, and you don't hear from him for 3 years, it destroys your mind as a person. And you develop maladaptive coping strategies, anxiety disorders, sex addiction, drug addiction. You know, you're always running from reality so you don't have to face how you are nothing and don't matter to someone who should love you like your father. Then you wonder why people. Now, I said earlier, entertainment is a religion of the day. Entertainment is escapism. Why do you think people want to go to brunch, watch a movie, go here, do this, do that, take this drug, go hook up with someone on Tinder? They are staying in a dopamine hit all day.
Hmm.
Because if they have to stop and sit with their own mind, they're going to start screaming
I,
because they didn't have
thir-
the mother and the father just say, I love you. I
30
love
minutes a day. I've been meditating and praying 30 minutes a day since 2008.
you. Good.
It's uncomfortable. It still is.
I was in the church 3, 4 times a week, so
Yeah.
it's very normal to me. But congratulations.
No, but my point is like no, it's I still do it, and it's still my point is I've been working out since fifth grade.
I saw that.
But,
Congratulations.
but
I'm a weightlifter myself.
my point is this morning I went to the gym and guess what? It still sucked. So
Yeah.
my point is like it doesn't get when I sit down and meditate. Do you know how badly I want to like pull up my phone and instead it's
Oh
like
yeah.
no, you have to sit with the weird existential of like okay, I exist. I
Yep.
live on Earth. What the fuck is the universe? Okay, and then you go in and oh, you meet God and all the good stuff. But you know, if you don't, if you and I'd say another huge thing about having a dad and also we are better than that or a Carrigan boy doesn't do this. That also that validation from growing up when I willfully had my YouTube channel nuked because I was like, no, I know this is wrong. It's one thing if like random people are
Right.
whispering in my ears. I'm like, here are these doctors, and they're telling me very concerned. They're like, something's wrong. I've never seen this in 40 years of medicine. And then I upload it, and it gets people are like, dude, just play ball. And in my mind, I'm like, no,
Nope.
I know that's not right, and that's from growing up that way. And so I don't need YouTube's validation or Twitter's validation. And
Right.
I was banned for 4 years. And now it's all going back, and my show on Rumble is growing just fine and paying my
Good.
bills just fine. But it's because I know what's right. I know what's wrong. And that doesn't mean you can't agree to disagree and all that stuff, but there have to be lines to where you go, that's dishonest. That's
Right.
even sponsors. Hey, just tell them you take this, and that's where you got muscles from. I'm like, No, that's
Yeah, but I
just a
didn't.
lie. It's just a
Yeah.
lie. And so much of that you do have to get it, I think, when you're a kid. I mean, maybe you
Uh-huh.
can learn it, I don't know, but
Well,
you do need that.
I would liken it to language. You can learn a language as an adult, you're going to have a horrific accent. But if you learn the languages when you're little, you won't have an accent in English, Spanish, whatever your second language is. People won't be able to hear it. My wife is fluent in Spanish and English, and her Spanish sounds like she's in Mexico. My Spanish sounds like I learned it, kind of crappy my whole life. I'm not fluent. I can go to Mexico and order food and get in a taxi and do things, but I sound like I'm from here.
Mhm.
When I go down there, they look at me and they're like, what are you? You don't look Mexican, but
You
kind
one
of.
of us or
They
not?
always say, Arabe, that's Arab. Like, Arabe. They're like, okay, as soon as I tell them. So, but I opened my mouth in Mexico and they're like, oh, okay, he's an
Exactly.
American. So that's the thing about learning your morality as an adult. You have those things from a childhood. It's like walking and they set you in a direction and they set you in this world, but God can do anything. God can set anyone free
Mhm.
and change anyone's life. You do have to choose it. He gave us a free will and our will is immutable. He won't interfere. You want to destroy yourself, it's a tragedy, but you are allowed to. Because
Mhm.
the only reason that faith and devotion to God matters is because we can choose not to. That's why choosing to matters. And as you were saying about working out and this, that, and the other, I'm a big workout guy. I love lifting weights. I try to eat right and all that. It's never fun when
Oh,
I'm sitting there eating just meat and eggs and cheese and the stuff.
chicken and
I'm
broccoli.
fantasizing about cake and rice and tortillas and all the bad stuff. I'm the whole time I'm just eating that meat and butter and eggs. I'm thinking of the bad stuff. I'm thinking of a big icy Coca-Cola filled
Oh,
with sugar. But no, I don't want to die. Stuff's good. It's not that good, you know. So, and then when I'm lifting weights, you tell me this. Every time you have to lift weights in an hour or a half hour from now, you're like, but then when you do it, you never regret it, right?
oh yeah.
Afterwards, you're like, you could jump over the world afterwards. You feel amazing,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
it's and again, it's like you have you have to learn that. And if this stuff is seeping into kids' minds about how you can't do this or how you can't do that, or even just, another thing about dads is dads also they lay down the law. And when you're young,
Right.
you go, oh, there is a point where mom is no longer accepting and dad lays down the law. And I think that's why, most people like that I grew up with, nuclear families you also knew where to draw the line and not get police involved because that was like an extrapolation of dad. It's like you can
Right.
kind of get away drinking college, underage. You don't ever go up and rob someone because then the police come and the police are dad. They're
Right.
not playing around. And the people
Right.
that don't have that guidance, you are
Well,
forced to get your first father figure normally through arrest.
right. Well, look again, the black ghetto, the
A
Mexican bar,
hundred
white
percent.
trailer park, those young men, they fill our jails. They do
Yes.
not learn a simple concept called emotional regulation,
Yeah.
meaning I can feel any way I want. I don't have to do it though. I can feel like punching your teeth out, Tommy, because you insulted my mama. But I think, you know what? A couple things can happen here. I could punch Tommy and hurt him and go to jail. I could punch Tommy and he could be a better fighter than me and kick my ass and put me in the hospital. I mean, are either of those good things? I hurt you, I get arrested. You hurt me, maybe we both get arrested. Like, what am I doing here?
Mhm.
Now, self-defense, that's legal. If
Sure.
someone's
Yeah.
attacking you or trying to kill someone, of course, defense. I'm not a lawyer, but
Yeah.
everyone knows what I mean. Follow the law. But like fighting because you stepped on my shoe or you insulted the Raiders, you made fun of the
Yeah.
Raiders, so I'm gonna beat you up in the parking lot. I remember I live in San Diego, and the Chargers and the Raiders, the Chargers used to be here, and the Raiders would play the Chargers. And there would be the craziest fights downtown San Diego at the stadium. I remember a Raider fan bit a Charger fan's ear off in the 90s, and it was on the news. I remember that I either one of the team's fans killed another team's fan's dog at the tailgate.
Jeez.
What are we doing? See, these are guys that cannot emotionally regulate. We all get furious. We're men. Our answer is violence. But your father told you, my grandpa was like my dad. My parents did get divorced, but I was in the church all the time. My football coaches, my grandfather, I had that male thing. Thank God I had it. And my grandpa told me something else. My grandpa, Tim Duran, the World War II guy, the Mexican restaurant guy, such a good man of God and just a great man. He said, Gaby, always think about how you're going to get out of the situation before you get into it. He told
Mhm.
me that when I was like 7, 8 years old. And I remember picturing myself as a 7-year-old. in a giant, I don't know why I picture this. It was a giant warehouse and there were crates and crates and crates and pallets, like, 60 feet high. And I was on the top pallet and I was too scared to come down. That was my imagination of the bad situation I got myself in. And it's like, oh, okay. Think about how I will get out of something. And he said, and if you can't picture yourself getting out of something, don't get into something, So once you throw that punch, you're in. People can die. People can go to jail. My son is young. He's a tough guy. He was second team, all defensive line football player. They won the California Southern State Championship. He was on varsity since he was a freshman in high school. And he's a tough guy. And he's an ass kicker, my son. And he went off to college. And I would send him news stories of guys getting in street fights, guys getting killed. And this, I said, please, son, you're out of town. You're at the university. You're in a frat. Everything is just, charged with testosterone. Please do not. You don't know who has a knife.
Hmm.
You don't know what's going on. My comic book company is called Big Man Comics. I'm 6'4", 260 pounds. I've always been huge.
Jeez.
And I was right by the Lakers, LA Live. LA Live is where the Lakers play basketball, and there's a bunch of restaurants near. And I was at a comic book convention, and we were walking down the street, my wife, my son, my daughter, and we were going to go eat at Morton's Steakhouse or something like that. And I'm 6'4", and we're walking. It's very busy, and I bump into a guy by accident, little Mexican gangster guy. I'm talking 5'2" to 5'4", little guy. And he starts barking at me. Yo, dude, you bumped into me. What the fuck, bro? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, so the male brain is like, this guy's puny, kick his ass, right? But the way I was raised, my dad, all that, I think the same thing I told you earlier. Okay, here's a few things that can happen. I can punch this guy, send him flying because I'm outweigh him by 200 pounds or whatever. And now I can go to jail. There you go. That's good. Or I can also think, this guy's a foot shorter than me, minimum. And he's fearless. Does he have a gun? Does he have a
Uh,
knife? Because I'm not fighting a guy a foot taller than me. Like he seems unhinged. So I can beat the crap out of this guy and go to jail, or maybe he's got a little something under his jacket for me. I don't know. Either way, I don't need to be such a pussy that, oh, my ego, they're going to say I'm a wimp. Like, no, they're going to say you're intelligent. I was, hey, man, it's cool. I'm going to dinner with my family. And then it diffused.
Yeah.
He wanted trouble, this little guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. A dude a foot shorter than me wanting to fight me, that's mysterious to me. And I have a
Yeah, no, he had a
heuristic.
gun. He had a nine.
He had something because he was tiny compared to me. And I know this about life, and I never want you to forget this because I think this is one of the most useful things I've ever taught myself, just thinking about life. The universe is a universe of order, and it always makes perfect sense. Every electron, proton, neutron, they always do what they're supposed to do exactly right. So I say to myself about that concept, when something doesn't make sense, it's me. There's something I don't know.
Mm.
Everything makes sense always if you get all the data. So this little guy not being afraid of someone a foot taller than him, it makes sense. And you might not like to find out why that makes sense because it doesn't make sense why a little guy would want to fight you. But you will find out why if you look hard enough.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like that ain't worth the trouble. We bumped into each other on accident, dude. Calm down. I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to shove you or anything stupid like that. So that's part of having a good father figure, grandfather, my football coaches, all that is like, oh, this guy insulted me in front of my wife. I don't want to be humiliated. Let me beat up a stranger because our shoulders touched.
Yeah.
That's weak. That's actually weak, dude.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I was in a frat in college and I worked at a bar, and even in my mind, I was always just like, I would always diffuse no matter what. And I
Yeah.
just looked at it like intellectually. I'm like, what, get expelled? Get
Right.
expelled from this college? I'm trying to get into med school. Like, what am I, 21? Like, what am I doing? Just maneuver. It's
Yeah.
the lineage. It's, are they physically attacking your mother or you?
You
No.
can defend yourself, but if
Yeah.
it's just words, move it, dude.
And
Just
it's,
keep
but
moving.
even now, like, so with the podcast, not only does like the validation from dad being like, well, I know what's right. I don't need YouTube to tell me what's right and wrong. I know what's right and wrong. I know this sponsors, they're slimy and I don't want to work with them. It also comes to just like ability to really have anyone on the show. I see people all the time in comments like, Tommy, why didn't you own this libtard? And I'm like, well, what do I get from that? I'm much
Right.
more, I look at it as a game. I'm like, I want to understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
If you want people on the left and the right bickering, turn on any channel anywhere at any hour of the day. There's nothing impressive about that. I find it much more interesting to if I have someone on here and they have like Trump derangement syndrome, I'm genuinely curious. I'm like, I want to
Well,
know why this guy thinks
I,
this.
you know, I made a video that went viral a little bit for me on I have a brand new TikTok account. I don't even watch TikTok. I hate it, but I've made accounts on every social media to promote myself and build my brand because you have to.
Hmm.
And I made one saying, why don't liberals know anything? And there's tons of scientific research. You can look this up yourself. The concept theory of mind, where I say, how do other people think of this other group? When researched, left-wing people cannot describe how right-wing people think generally. Right-wing people can describe how left-wing people think.
Yeah,
That's
I have seen that.
fascinating to me. And that explains so much. When they ask the left-wing people, what do right-wing people believe and think? Nazi, racist, round up all the gays and kill them, just
Yeah.
fascist. They think this. I thought those were insults. Like,
Yeah.
no, they actually think. And then when they ask right-wing people what do left-wing people think, it's like, well, they're probably decent people, but they're very misguided and brainwashed by the college Marxist professors. And, they want to give free stuff to everyone. They think they're being nice, but they're not looking at the long term of like, hey, dude, that's going to destroy society. It's going to bankrupt us. It's going to change our culture if you import people without American values and they don't assimilate. Like, we're very reasonable about what we think they think. We just think they're misguided and they think we're evil. And
Yeah, no,
that's a bad situation. So,
yeah.
and I want to know what's the way out of that because look at Twitter. Before Elon bought Twitter, it was a left wing echo chamber. They would kick right wing people out. They kicked you off YouTube. But the right wing people were open minded, like, no, I want to be in Twitter with the lefties who disagree with me. I want to be on social media with the people who disagree with me and like have the talk. Charlie Kirk wanted to talk. What do left wing people do now that Elon bought Twitter? They run away to Blue Sky, Mastodon. Look at the difference in how it works. They won't be with us and have the debate. They have to cancel, silence, turn your mic off, kick you out of the college where you're trying to speak, take you off YouTube. They won't allow you to debate, and we're just trying to debate them. That's insane to me that they can't even have the debate. Have you ever had a person have a Trump derangement meltdown in front of you? Like it's like physically in front of
Not,
you, like
no.
I've had it. I was with a person I know. I don't want to say who, and they were telling me about the good people on both sides hoax, where Trump said white supremacists, and he didn't say that. And they're like, oh, he said that Nazis and white supremacists were fine people, the fine people hoax. I said, no, he didn't. I said the media cut that off because 30 seconds later he says, and not white supremacists or racists who have to be totally condemned. And I played the video from him on YouTube. They jumped up from the table. I don't want to hear it. He's talking out of his ass. You turn that off right now. I don't want it. And they ran to the other side of the house, started washing dishes, and like, like la 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 la. I can't hear. Like it was like a
Exorcism.
like a fight or flight response. Like the cognitive dissonance
Yeah, it's
was freaking them out. Of I believe this, and like, no, you're wrong. And the cognitive when you have cognitive dissonance as a human being, you hallucinate. If you're a dishonest person, you'll go, oh well, the guy that got Charlie Kirk, he was right wing, right? Charlie wasn't right wing enough. That's why he killed him. That's I've heard them say things like that because they
well,
have to hallucinate a reason where like we're not the
well,
bad
that's
guys.
also what happens in the extreme communist left is purity spirals. They
Right,
remove their own.
right.
Yeah, no, it's a you can't do, and like I said, like some people have had on here, and I can and I it's refreshing to talk to them. They just happen to be left leaning. They don't want Trump, but they also, if I tell them, I'll be like, let's not do the Trump derangement thing. They'll kind of laugh and go, okay, 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 okay. And I go, that's someone who just we just disagree. He's an
Yeah,
intelligent dude, whatever, nuclear physicist and shit. Um, yeah, but it's like if somebody told me like, why do you think the left hates Trump? Oh, I'm like, okay, just brash dude, thrice married, owns a beauty pageant, grab him by the pussy. I'm like, I get it. No, I get it. You look at that guy, you go, I wouldn't want that guy around me. Sure, I voted for him. And people go, well, why, why do you think people liked Biden? And I go, well, okay, he lost his son. Maybe he understands, yeah, military service or okay, I tend to think it's not a good thing, but I get where you might look at someone and go, well, they're in the Senate for 40 years. Okay, he probably knows your thing. And, you are vice president, regardless of what you think, that takes some brain power to get to. Like, those are all things I could, like, list off. There
sure.
doesn't seem to be, well, why do you think he likes Trump? Because he's a fucking Nazi. It's like, what?
All
Like,
right.
what? And, like, what? And it's a fascinating thing. Because Man, one of my favorite parts about the show is like when I have on someone that I completely disagree with, and then you start to see like how they got there, and you go, "Oh, this dude isn't somebody that just wants a nanny state." You go, "He grew up without parents. He and his little
Right.
brother were in a foster home. His brother used to get raped by the foster parent, and they ran away, and they used to literally hide in sewage tunnels, and then they found a public kind of safe house, and they went there, and." Oh, that's why 70 years later he still thinks it's good that there's, public services. I go, "Oh,
Right.
okay.
Right. Now, again, way back at the beginning of the show here, I told you about Carl Jung.
Yeah.
Until the subconscious is made conscious, it will control people's lives.
Yeah.
So when people need to investigate, okay, I feel this way. Okay, well, don't just go. Why do you feel that way?
Yeah.
You sure? Why? Why? And go backwards until go, oh, my dad slapped me and told me I was useless when I was 5 and I never saw him again. So I hate men. Then you're an atheist. You hate authority. You hate patriarchy. Think about smash the patriarchy, the left slogan, the left wing slogan. Destroy the patriarchy. What does pater mean in Latin? It means father.
Oh yeah.
These are people who hate their father. That's what pater means. It means father. That's what the word is. Patriarchy means way of the father. You get your culture from your father. There's scientific research about this too. You don't get it from your mother. You get your culture from your father. You can't get it from your mother. That's not how the psychology of women works to children. There's research showing if the father goes to church and takes the family, that children will retain his religion over 90% of the time. If there's no father, it falls down into like the teens. And if the mother takes the kids to the church, it's still only like 20-30%. And you can extrapolate religion out to your customs, your songs, your traditions, your holidays, everything that's cultural, religion, and then secular culture. It comes from the father. Why do you think we have so many young leftist people who are like, screw America, we need communism, this, that, and the other? Because they don't care. Because they didn't have a dad going, listen, I love you and I represent the patriarchy. And look what I did for you for hundreds, thousands of years. Look at how I bled and fought and people died and all that going back, 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 back. Your father is the representative of that. He's the man in your face. He's the point of contact for your thousands and thousands of years of tradition. If you don't have a father and the society is hurting you, you said, that's my dad's fault. He
Mm.
didn't protect me from this. Why would I want anything to do with him or his culture? Because look what his culture did to me. So again, this is my unified field theory of father. It's the whole problem is weak ass men, men that can't tell women and children no, men that can't be resolute, they can't be strong, they can't be moral, they can't keep their word, they can't do a damn thing. They're little boys running around being idiots. It's pathetic. A lot of people I know get mad at women and they get mad at feminists and women file for all the divorce and blah, 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 blah. Be a man, lead.
Yeah.
There's a,
Yeah.
there's a phrase I love about women and children. It's a woman cannot go where a man will not lead. And that is absolutely true about human beings. Women are the reactive, the receptive gender. They act the way they act because of us. And a lot of guys don't like to hear that. A lot of divorced guys, a lot of MGTOW guys, and all these red pill guys, and all this stuff. I've been married 29 years. I have a blissful, amazing marriage. My wife is completely submissive. I am the leader. She is the helper. Perfect analogy. We're driving. She'll turn on the GPS and find the directions here, there, but I'm driving and I'm deciding where we're going, but she's helping me guide the way. That's how it's supposed to work. Equal, but different roles. And so many guys are pussies and cowards, frankly. They are. And they're happy wife, happy life. One of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life,
No,
by the way.
I'm with you. I point that out on the show all the time. I'm like, just because there's a saying doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, just because
You
it
hear it.
rhymes, Johnny
Yeah, I'm like, yeah,
Cochran.
some of them are. I think early to bed, early to rise, healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Okay,
Okay,
there's
but I mean,
exceptions.
I also, for most of the podcast, because it started when I lived at home during the pandemic, I would wake up at noon and do the show at 2 p.m. so I could have alone time at night and not be with, my parents during the day. But even that, and then the last 6 months or so, I've gone from waking up at noon after like 5 years to waking up in the morning. I go, yeah,
Right.
I don't think the early meant anything. I think the 8 hours of sleep and the exercise
It
was.
was the discipline's regimented
But even
schedule.
that, I go, yeah, yeah, that's
Right.
fucked. You wake up at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. What do I care? Just still do the work.
Yeah.
You do get that all the time, it all equals out in the end. I'm like, in the eyes of God, yes, but in the eyes of most other things, no. And like, I was gonna say, lastly, then we'll wrap it up, and I do want to have you on here again. Is like
Sure. Anytime.
the the validation of the dad at home, and then the lack of it and the hatred of it. at the very bottom of the smash the patriarchy, the hatred of it is still a as you're saying, is still a subconscious desire. That's why they want the boot. That's why they want the strong arm of the government. You can see people now going, I can't believe YouTube's getting rid of the misinformation policy. It's great. So now they're just like, whatever happened to just using your mind? And they want a government boot to come in. So
Right,
the people that are against the patriarchy, they're against it in your home. What they want is they want the National Guard to put this vaccine in your arm. They
right,
still want dad.
right. Yeah. No,
And
because
then,
it is the natural order to have that father, to have that
mm,
order. They do long for it. And that's why they test. It's kind of how women will mess with you to test your strength and
they want to,
boundary.
yeah.
They don't mean some of the stuff they say, women. They're like, is Tommy strong enough to protect me? I better try to piss him off. And if
Yeah.
Tommy freaks out, he's a wimp. That's what women are doing half the time when they mess with you. They don't mean it. They don't want you to freak out. They want you to be the rock. And unfortunately, or it's not unfortunate, it's God's design, so I won't question it.
Yeah.
Women can't test you once and find out you're strong and then be cool. They test you over and over the rest of their life. You have to understand women are resource seeking creatures. We are not. There's a lone wolf. There's no such thing as a lone wolfess.
Yeah.
Women need us to survive, as do children. We don't need them. We can go into the mountains and live by ourselves for 40 years. We can, and
Yeah.
they can't. And that's okay. It's not a flaw. It's just how it's
How
designed.
it's
So
designed.
they want to know that you're the rudder, you're the rock, you're the tree in the storm. They want to know that. And man, I'll tell this. You said we're ending soon. I'll tell every man watching this, stop being a coward. Stop being a wimp. Tommy told the truth and they booted him from YouTube. I worked my butt off to get an elite job at Warner Brothers, Disney, and all that. And I just quit like that. It was 6 figures. I make more now doing independent comics, but it was a great, cushy, prestigious job, Batman, Superman. And I just said, no, I don't do that. I was raised not to make that stuff. Be resolute, men. Stop looking out for validation. You can never care what anyone thinks. Only care about what is right. If God thinks it's right and you know it's right, that's it. Do not care what I think, what Tommy thinks. Don't care what anyone thinks. Do what's right,
Mhm.
regardless.
Yeah, and I will say, and I've always said this, the one thing, despite all the banning and the censorship and all blah blah blah, man, during the 5, 6 years of this podcast, I've slept so well. And
Right.
I mean that like when I lay down at night and I'm like, well, I got banned from this and these people stopped talking to me because I had on this doctor who talked about these side effects. And it's just me alone in my room and you're not scrolling the phone to distract yourself and it's just me and God and I go, I'm trying my hardest to do the right thing. And you
Yeah.
can almost hear God be like, yeah, no, I saw. And it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, doesn't mean that life isn't scary, doesn't mean that's not intimidating. You have second, fuck, I should have gone and been a doctor. Doesn't mean you don't have all those too.
Right.
But when you feel it, when like the I don't know, the imagery I'm getting, it's like when the bed is made perfectly. It's like when your soul, like the bed of your soul is made and it's just
Yeah.
tucked in and the perfect and it's tight and you go, okay. And I would say that is get right with the biggest father and it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. I agree 100%. Well, I get private messages from some colleagues who still work for Disney and Warner's and all that making comics. They're like, man, I think what you did was so great speaking out, but I got a mortgage, man. I gotta
I
just
gotta do
gotta
this.
keep working. And it's like fear. You don't think God can meet your needs. God is my source, not Warner Brothers, not Mickey Mouse. God is my source. I've never starved a day in my life. If I never did comics again, oh well. I'm not gonna compromise to get money. No. If I just cared about money, I would have just stayed. Dude, I'm a half Mexican, half Arab. If I played the woke game
Oh,
and said
you'd
the
be
right things,
balling.
I'd be a president
Oh,
of
you
Warner Brothers. I'd be deciding movies and TV. I'll tell you what, I know you want to go, but I'll tell you one little fun
Yeah, no,
thing I
you're
did.
good.
A little prank I pulled on them. Right before I quit, a few months before I quit, they had a program. Marvel had it too. This was at DC Comics. I forget the name of the program at DC, but it was basically we want to hire new writers who have never written before. I was only doing visual art for them. I didn't write anything, but they said, but we want it from minority voices. So I wrote to the editors and I said, well, I'm half Mexican, I'm half Arab. I'm sure you've never had anyone write their life about that. And they didn't say it, but the stories they published under this little label were very woke. Here's why the white Christian patriotic man is bad and has ruined brown people's lives. So they hired me to write one of these, and I drew it in color. I did the whole thing, but pulled the Uno reverse on them. I wrote exactly the kind of stuff my grandfather taught me. It was a story about 1992, being in middle school and getting picked on for being Arab during the Gulf War in 92, getting in a fight, beating the crap out of a kid. My grandpa picks me up at school and lectures me and tells me, "Hey, I was always huge, like I told you. You can't be beating people up. You're too big to these other kids." And what did they tell you? Oh, racist stuff, blah blah blah. And he told me in the story that I wrote, race doesn't matter. Our culture and our religion matters. You do have a home. You have a place you belong if you follow our ways and our truth. I wrote a completely conservative story that threw away identity politics. It said it didn't matter. The editor calls me crying. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever read. Blah, blah. I got an 18-month first look deal from Warner Brothers to adapt it into a TV show or a movie. Now, I never got the TV show or movie because you usually don't when you get those deals. They do hand those deals out if your stories are decent. But my point was, I jumped in their little woke writing thing and then wrote a story that just went against it completely. And they never even noticed because it
Mm,
was good writing,
mm,
you know? So, that is the way I would play with their stuff like that. I'm not going to help you make evil. You want to make something evil? I'm going to turn it into something good.
mm.
You know, I'm not writing a victim story. Get out of here. So,
Beautifully said, man.
yeah.
Um, this will either be up tomorrow or the next day. I have no idea. I'll send it to you.
Cool.
And yeah, I'll email you and yeah, dude, I'd love to have you back on again sometime. That was
All right.
interesting talking about.
Can I plug for 30
Yeah,
seconds?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And and
Okay.
and, and also email me all the shit too. I'll copy paste it in the description.
Okay. Yeah, I sent you a PDF of a bunch of
Yeah,
his art.
yeah.
Empyrean, Earth Illuminated. It's a fresh take on some old Star Wars. You love that. Heroic sci-fi action. A husband and wife team discover conspiracy of a lost paradise. They have to defeat Casimir the Destroyer, the evil dictator of the planet Solus, to set the people free. I love this. It's shipping right now. Go to Big Man Comics and get it. It's 120 pages. It's like a 2-hour Hollywood movie is the way I write my books. Beautifully illustrated. Upcoming in the new year, The Unstoppable Tyrus. We got Fox News superstar Tyrus and myself created Ninja Turtles meets Incredible Hulk with a touch of The Legend of Zelda thrown in. It's a superhero science fantasy adventure. You're going to love this one. And you can also pick up Dean Cain, All American Lawman. This is my buddy Dean. He played Superman on TV for years. He's a great patriot and a good father. And we created like a James Bond, Indiana Jones kind of character. He's an international man of action, overcoming some real evil international criminal conspiracies. So you can get these graphic novels. I have more coming. And that's all at bigmancomics.com. We make great entertainment. And I'll say it's family friendly, but don't get turned off meaning like that's for little kids. It's like the old Star Wars and Indiana Jones. It's for adults, safe for kids to read. No cussing, no sex, no gore in my books. You know what I mean? Uplifting morals. It's not lecturing you. It's pure entertainment, but it's safe for kids to read and super, super entertaining for adults. So get those at bigmancomics.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate what you do and I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, that was fun as fuck. Thank you so much. All right, take care, everybody.